Hello, everybody. Welcome to Townsend 909, or welcome back if you're a lovely viewer. Today, me and Jason, the old millennial, we're going to be, of course, and Bryer from Bryer's Music Showcase. We're going
Brier's
to be,
tagging.
yeah, he's
I'm
coming with
hijacking
us
the show now.
reviewing this album because sadly, I wanted all four of us to do it. Me, Bryer, Jason, and Garrett, but with schedules, it's been, it sucks, but hopefully, well, I think we're all going to be reviewing Deja Vu, so it works out, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
But we're going to be reviewing this album, Bridge Over Troubled Water, and yeah, it's been over a month since me and Jason did our last Simon and Garfunkel video, and
Yeah.
I'm like, we need to finish this series because I know Jason really wants to get into the Kinks, and I'm like, we got to do the Simon and Garfunkel series first. We got to end that first, and then we're finally finishing this. Not that I'm not saying it's a tour, but I just wanted to finish the series off. Anything you guys want to mention before we start reviewing it?
You can go first, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I've given all the Simon Garfunkel albums really good reviews. I don't know another group that's gotten every single album I really like. I mean, that's very hard to do. There's only 5 albums, and I mean, I'll just say I'll give a good review on this one as well. It's just what an incredible way to end their discography with the album that wins Album of the Year and Song of the Year. I mean, yeah, it's incredible.
Right. Yeah, and of course for me, even though I've not been on the past episodes, I might as well give a brief recap. My thoughts on them. Of course, I've always enjoyed them. Definitely one of the great folk acts of the 1960s. I know I talked about them on Garrett's channel quite a bit. Like we've like all 4 of us had ranked their 5 albums, and yeah, just very enjoyable. And spoiler alert, this is of course their best in my opinion. Like it's just like Jason says, it's one of the great like final albums ever before they would break up. And yeah, there's like a lot of great songs on here, and yeah, looking forward to talk about them.
Well, me too. Not that, but I'm excited for our recap of their me and Jason are gonna have to work just like me and you did, Bryer, with the Birds. We're gonna make a video with the recap and top 10 songs and a discography ranking and all in one video, especially with Simon and Garfunkel since they have 5 albums and
pretty easy to do.
Yeah, when me, Bryer, and Garrett do Fleetwood Mac, we're gonna do the ranking on a separate video because doing the overview, then the top 10, then the discography ranking, that'll be a very long video.
Yeah.
Like 12 albums or less, I'll do it in the same video. But any more than that, that's when I'm like, yeah, no. We're gonna have to. That's gonna be the separate video. The Kinks. Like when we get through all 23 Kinks albums, we're not including the ranking in that video. That's gonna be its own video because that would be almost as long as the essential albums of the 60s if we did all that in one video.
Yeah.
Yeah. But besides that, let's start talking about this wonderful album. Starts right off with the title track.
Yeah.
Any opinions?
Yeah, I mean, what a way to start your album with one of the most iconic songs of their discography. It's their epic. I mean, I don't know if there's another song that Simon Garfunkel do that sound like this one. This one's definitely different to me in a really great way. This is definitely one where I remember when I was a kid and I was still learning about new bands and stuff and groups, and I was getting into Simon and Garfunkel because I knew Sound of Silence was on the radio a lot. Mrs. Robinson was on the radio a lot. So I knew a lot of these stuff. And I remember, my dad telling me about Bridge Over Troubled Waters. It was like their epic, grand epic, song. And I remember hearing that for the first time and just being like, wow, blown away by how beautiful it is. I mean, the piano, Garfunkel's vocals, which I say I love Garfunkle's vocals. Like, I would say he's a better singer maybe than Paul Simon, but I mean, they're great together. They're just so good together. It is perfect. But Garfunkel's just amazing. I think singer. It really helps. I mean, Paul Simon's so good on his own, but Garfunkel just adds that extra to it. But this is like one of the rare ones where Garfunkel is like the lead singer. Paul Simon comes in a little bit with the hello, the Silver Girl part, kind of the which is probably my favorite part of the whole song. Really, to be honest, is the sail away, Silver Girl, sail away on a high. Ah, so good. But yeah, it's also obviously it's a very uplifting kind of song. Incredible lyrics, this idea of, you're going through troubled times, the troubled waters, and being a bridge, someone who helps you through those troubled times. I mean, it's a great imagery lyrically, I think. I remember Paul Simon singing this on Saturday Night Live after 9/11, and it was such an emotional moment seeing Paul Simon sing that, because it's such a great song for that kind of moment. So yeah, definitely. I can go on so long, but yeah, it's definitely one of the greats, obviously.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely a great way to open the album. I mean, Jason already mentioned the lyrics, and yeah, just such a different sound for them. Because everything was very folky, but this one takes a more gospel influence. Yeah, it's just all of it just comes together. The piano, the sounds of the piano, and just the overall sound has a bigger scope to it. The percussion sounds louder. The string arrangements, again, adding to the emotion of it. And yeah, probably Art's greatest vocal performance pretty much ever. Just the emotion he delivers on here is absolutely incredible. It's beautiful, very, very emotional sounding. Just it's a terrific song. So yeah, it's classic.
Yeah, we're gonna have a trifecta here. This is an amazing song. Even though it's not my favorite Simon and Garfunkel song, this is what I consider to be their magnum opus. It's like you guys mentioned it. It's grand. The Wrecking Crew's addition to this album is very welcoming. I mean, they were on the other albums. The only album that doesn't have them is their first album, Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. But they really make a huge difference on this song in particular. Man, like the way it ends with the and I'm just like, whoa! Like when I first heard the song, I'm just like, wow! Like that's it. I was just like, wow! I did not even know what to say. I was just like, I'm like, this is the opening track to the album. Like, how are they gonna top this?
Right.
Only Simon and Garfunkel. I mean, there are other bands, but I mean, in terms of duos, like only Simon and Garfunkel can make a song like Bridge Over Troubled Water. And then only Simon and Garfunkel could, like, as a duo could make an amazing song like that song, and then make songs that to me are better. I know this is Garrett's favorite song of all time, which I don't blame him. This is a good pick. But yeah, very great way to start off the album. Next song on the album is If I Could, or El Condor or something.
El Condor Pasa.
Yeah, it's such a weird song to pronounce. I just say the one that's around the parentheses, if I could, because that's a lot easier. But who wants to go first?
I don't know if it's okay if I go first, Bryer. And
we'll keep the same order.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Again, I'm just tagging along.
Right. That's why I thought I was like, I'll go first since. I'd go El Condor Pasa if I could. Another really good song. It's an interesting song. Lyrically, I don't remember the lyrics exactly, but there's stuff like I'd rather be something than a snail, I think was one lyric, which I'm like, what? Like, I don't get but it has a really fun this boom boom. It has this kind of fun sound to it, a little different, but still it's really good. This is one that shows up on like I used to have like a greatest hits CD, or my parents did, and this was on there. So I mean, it's obviously very well thought of to make it onto like one of their greatest hits albums. Um, just a quick story I just wanted to say about this is in 2008 I was in Europe with my mom, and I was in Europe with my mom this last summer, but we also went in 2008. It was the first time we went to Europe together, and we were in the Czech Republic in Prague, and we went to this restaurant where you kind of had to go downstairs. It's almost like this basement restaurant, really cool atmosphere kind of restaurant. Anyways, and we were eating, and all of a sudden this band shows up, and it's like this, 4-piece, like, you know, I forget exactly what they were, but I think there's like a clarinet player, like a violin player, like a mandolin player. It was like this kind of, I don't know, folk kind of band, and they start playing songs, and as I'm eating, I'm like, oh wow, this is so cool! Like I'm getting a live performance as I'm eating, like, and I'm in I'm in Prague, like this is like so cool, like I never experienced this. And they start playing this song, El Condor Pasa, if I could, and I remember eating, going, wait a minute, I know this song, because most of the songs I didn't know what they were playing, and they were just playing, folk, Czech folk music or something, I don't know. But I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a minute, this is a Simon Garfunkel song. And I thought that was so cool that I was like, oh, I was listening to this song in the Czech Republic by this Czech folk band thing. I don't know. I always thought that was really, I always think about that, about this song. But I'm sure Bryer will have more to add to this. I'd say it's a good song.
Yeah. That's a good story. Yeah. It's always like those moments where you're just in a public place and the song you really love pops up, like, hey, I know that.
I know. You're like, wait a minute.
It's even more funny when you're the only one that actually knows it.
Right, when you're American amongst a bunch of Czech people.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a great follow-up song. Not kind of more slower type of song, a more vibey type of song to kind of just like chill to. This was a cover. This was a Peruvian song, a classic Peruvian song. I'm not going to say who was by because I'm going to butcher the last name, but yeah, Paul just wrote some new lyrics on top of it. They did get sued, but it was settled. They were able to get settled, so that it wasn't too bad. But yeah, this was kind of an interesting one. And by the way, this lyric you were talking about, Jason, was the opening line. Was "I'd rather be a sparrow than a snail." I mean, that's pretty fair. I kind of agree with that. And then there's also lines like "I'd rather be a hammer than a nail."
Yeah,
also pretty true. Rather be a force in the street. So a lot of these comparison types of the lyrics there. But yeah, I mean, Paul sounds really good, and along with Art's probably in the backing vocals as well, it has its own little moment. And this was kind of like a little precursor to what Paul would do later, especially in the 80s, where he would incorporate a lot more world music into his stuff. So it's kind of interesting to see where that began. So yeah, again, very nice song.
Oh yeah, I love this song. Amazing follow-up song. I will be honest. I've been on. I was honest with the last 4 episodes. I am bigger on Simon's voice, but that doesn't take away from Garfunkel's voice at all. He does. I will agree with what Jason said before. Is that he does add an amazing touch to Simon's music. Like I wouldn't say Simon's music wasn't bad after when they split up, but there was definitely something missing after Garfunkel and them split up. I don't know. Even though I'm not as crazy about Garfunkel's voice as Simon's, I don't know. It's just the way he adds, like he takes he adds to this. Like, I wouldn't call it simple, but like without Garfunkel with the like that part, I'm like it wouldn't be as good because I don't know. He just adds a great touch to it, and I do like the cover, and that was a great story with the like. I know how it feels to when I like listen to it. Like one time they played an obscure, like there was a restaurant I went to with my parents. They played like a really obscure song from the Help album by the Beatles, and it was like you got to lose that girl. And I'm like oh, it's an amazing deep cut from Help, and everyone's like, I've never heard this song before, and I'm like, I'm like this song's so good, I know how it feels. I'm like, man, but yeah, this is an amazing song. I don't have a whole lot to say about it either, but yeah, it's funny when I first heard the word "I'd rather be a sparrow than be a snail." I I think about the song that they made on their first album, Sparrow, from "Ooh, Lovely Little Sparrow." Like I'm like, oh, like it reminds. I don't know. It just reminds me of that song for some reason. I'm like, oh, it's like him like foreshadowing, like not foreshadowing, but like going like reminding me of back when they first started making music together. But yeah, amazing song. Again, another trifecta right here. Next song on the album is Cecilia.
Celia, you're breaking my heart. You're I forget the rest. Something daily. Man, I love this song. This is definitely a song I've grown up listening to, and it is like their most fun, upbeat song I think they have in their whole discography. It's definitely like a top 10 song for me. I just love the Cecilia. So good when they go into that. And just if there's so many, I can't even name what instruments are in this. They do have so many different instruments. I think there might be hand claps, but there's some kind of, percussion instrument in there. I don't know. There's another weird instrument that I don't even know what it is that shows up. I can't even say what it sounds like, but it's a weird sound that I love.
I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's
it might
like
be
weird flute sounding thing.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about. It's like it's weird.
It's almost like a boing sound, like boing, boing, boing. I don't know. I don't know if you remember that, but I feel like they put a lot of different instruments into and it's just so upbeat and it's so fun. Like just so fun to sing to, and lyrically, it's a fun song to me. I don't know. There's a part about like he gets up and then he comes back and someone took his place, like in bed or something. I don't know. I was like, what the heck? Like,
yeah.
I don't know why that was. I thought that was kind of a funny line about that, and just them doing the ba 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 ba. They're just not even singing lyrics. They're so good, like just singing along with it. And yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add to it, but yeah, this is another one of my favorite songs on the album. Just again, like Jason said, like it's good upbeat, very catchy. Again, has that really great rhythm to it, especially in the intro. You have that weird percussion. I've tried to look it up. I've heard like conflicting reports on what that was. I think I know Paul did a recent interview and he was asked about that, and he said it was guitar cases that was used for the percussion mostly. So I'm gonna take Paul's word for that one. But yeah, just again the hand claps in it, again catchy chorus, again tons. It sounds like a tons going on here, but it doesn't feel too cluttered. It sounds very, very concise. But yeah, just absolutely great song.
It's another amazing song. Oh man, this is definitely one of my favorites off the album. It definitely makes my top 5. When I first heard it, it was stuck in my head all day. Oh, jubilation, she loves me again. That's one of my favorites in the song. Like there is a happy ending. She loves me again. I always love that end of the song. Like there is a happy ending to the story. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about either because, yeah, it's an amazing song. It's such a such a great pop song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this would be my favorite album of 1970, but then there's Deja Vu by CSMY, and I'm like, oh. By the way, we're
so good though. Let It Be came out, and
yeah, such a great year for music.
Oh, such a good year. I know Bryer did a top whatever of
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next song on the album though is "Keep the Customer Satisfied."
Yeah, this is a song that like I didn't know until I heard the album. I think like growing up, like I heard, I was a big Simon Garfunkel fan. I can't say that name, Garfunkel. On the radio, and there's tons of hits that came on the radio, that I was familiar with. This isn't a song that was on the radio that I never really heard. And I really never listened to the Simon Garfunkel albums until maybe 2 years ago, when I kind of started the channel. Actually, I started the channel in 2021. That's when I started listening to albums, because I never listened to albums except for the Beatles. I only listened to singles. Like that was just me. I just listened to iTunes, you know. I just picked up songs on iTunes and didn't really give albums full, you know, like I do now. And this was a song, yeah, when I came across it on the album, I was like, wow, I've never heard this song. This song is so good. And it's becoming like one of my favorite songs on the album. And it's kind of a hidden gem, I guess, to me. Like it was like, I don't know how many people know the song unless you're a big fan of this album. But it's kind of like Cecilia. It's a fast, upbeat kind of pop song. And I just absolutely love the chorus when it goes into that. You got one more bum 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 bum. One more da-da-da. Customer satisfied. Anyways, great chorus. Again, like Cecilia and this song back to back is, man, this is a fun pop album at this point. After you get the really, you know, dramatic Bridge Over Troubled Waters.
Yeah, I also agree. This was another big standout song. This was supposed to be like an Everly Brothers kind of inspired sounding song. And yeah, this was lyrically, it's basically about how they felt about touring, keeping the customers satisfied, gotta present the crowd, appease promoters and stuff like that. But yeah, again, it's incredibly upbeat, so catchy. I love the bass playing. Actually really caught my ear on this one. I mean, the Simon Garfunkel aren't known for like having great bass playing on him, but this one actually stood out. And I love the horns. The horns definitely were a great addition, like the brass instruments, just especially towards the end, where it's just like it's all in your ear. It's just like, wow, this like I didn't think it needed it, but I guess it did. But yeah, definitely kept this customer satisfied.
Yeah, this is this is my all-time favorite Simon and Garfunkel song. There's so many songs that could contend for that, but as of now, it's my favorite song by them. And one of my all-time favorite, like one of my favorite lyrics is, "I've been slandered, libeled." I've always loved the
I've
way
heard
that
words that they don't have in the Bible or something like that.
Yeah, but I'm trying to look it up right now.
That was a good line.
I got slandered, libeled. I hear words I never heard in the Bible.
Yeah,
Like, swear words, obviously.
Yeah.
But man, it's such a, like, when I first heard the song, I'm like, this is like Celia Part 2, actually. Like when I first heard it, I'm like, this is like Celia, but better better. Like they managed to make it a tiny bit better. And yeah, my two favorite Simon and Garfunkel's back to back. I've always loved that.
Yeah, it's a very good start to the album, I'll have to say.
Yeah, like I saw you rank the albums, and this was your only 10 out of 10 album from them, and it's for a good reason, because this album's perfect. Yeah, it's such a great song. Side 1 closes out on "So Long, Frank Lloyd Wright."
Yeah, I actually really like this song, and I a lot of people I've talked to or heard, they usually say this is their least favorite song on the album, and it's the weak song on the album. And I don't know, I'm one of the different ones, I guess, that actually kind of enjoyed it. I think it's a really pretty melody. It's a good acoustic guitar song, mostly a Paul song, I would say. I can see that's kind of maybe a little long, a little slow moving at times. There's like a solo, like a flute solo or something in there, if I remember right. That maybe I could see maybe slowing down the song, but overall, I think it's a really pretty melody, and I actually quite enjoy it.
Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, I also really enjoyed it too. It didn't quite make the top 5, but it was very close. Definitely an honorable mention. And yeah, again, musically it's very nice. It's a slower song, but yeah, it's just you're just caught in this nice little melody, and the guitar definitely has a different feel. It's supposed to have like this Latin jazzy sort of sound to it, which definitely makes it stand out a bit. And yeah, there's a nice flute solo that was really nice. I like the sound of it here. And lyrically, again, very, very great. Of course, Frank Lloyd Wright was an architect, and really what's significant about that is because Garfunkel wanted to be an architect originally.
Did he go to school?
Yeah, he went to school and all that. Yeah, so and even though it was supposed to be a song about Floyd Wright, it kind of ended up being a song about Art himself, because it has this nostalgic type of sound to it, because you hear lyrics like he like wishing to go back to the times it was just the two of them harmonizing together. And it's kind of Paul just kind of reflecting, like, because at this point their relationship is definitely deteriorating. And Paul was kind of like, he wanted to go back to those times where they were they were tight, they were together, but now they're kind of separating, and now it's kind of longing for that. So I think lyrically it definitely makes this song really stand out for me. So yeah, I really enjoyed this song.
Yeah, because they were friends when they were young teenagers. I mean,
Yeah,
they had been together for quite a while at this point.
mm-hmm.
They had a record label, and they were called Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry.
So we will be talking about that. But I used to not really like your moment on the album, but it's definitely have grown on me. It's still one of my top 5 songs on the album, because there's too many songs on the album to pick from. So
yeah,
you know. I mean, if this was a mediocre album, I'd say this is the best song on the album. But this album is anything but mediocre. So yeah, this is still my favorite off the album, but proves how amazing this album is. Slide opens up with one of the iconic songs, Boxer.
Yeah, wow, what a way to start the second side. The Boxer is one of the all-time great, one of my all-time favorite Simon Garfunkel songs. Yeah, since the first time I heard it, I was just so enamored with especially with the la la la, koosh la 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 la. Oh, those la la la's so good. Like them harmonizing those la la la's and that. But even when it first started, when I was listening to it the other day, when it first starts, man, it just right away, like I knew it was the Boxer, and I was like, oh, it's the Boxer. Like so recognizable, that opening, and going right into it, and I just he's a boxer by his trade, and he's the melody's so great, and lyrically, I think it's one of the best written songs. Talking about this boxer guy, I guess, and he remembers every glove laid on him. I think there's a line that I thought was great, and I am leaving, but the fire still remains. I just love it lyrically, listening to it, of course, because Paul Simon's one of the greatest, I think, lyricists of all time, in my opinion, songwriters of all time. And yeah, and like I said, the la 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 part and that drum, it's so catchy. The guitar is great throughout the whole song, I would say. And yeah, I know you'll add more to it, Bryer. It's such a great song.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And yeah, I think this is some of Paul's greatest lyrics he's ever written. Yeah, and the whole la 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 was supposed to be a placeholder, but they just kind of kept it. But yeah, I think it works. Again, it sounds great. It's a great melody to it. This song actually dates back to 1968, so a couple years prior, but with all the stuff that goes around in this song, it kind of understandable that it took a while for it to actually be fulfilled. This actually took roughly 100 hours to record, supposedly, and it was recorded in different studios just to get specific sounds. It was one of the, I don't know if it was one of the first, but it's definitely one of those songs that was first recorded on 16 track rather than 8 track. So that was kind of interesting. And yeah, the drum sound on here, just absolutely iconic. Just the la la la, then boom, just pops into you. Like it sounds like the punches themselves, because it's a boxer, and it's just very cool. And I love the other instruments like the harmonica, the flute, the steel guitar in here. Just really adds to the whole atmosphere. And of course, Jason mentioned the lyrics, and how it's about a boxer, but it's actually cool. You can actually take this both literally, and you can also take it metaphorically, because I know Paul has said that the boxer he was referring to himself as the boxer, because 1970s, lots of stress going on, fame, friendships deteriorating, and so he's kind of wants to quit, but his creativity is what keeps him fighting. That's why he keeps going, and he's still continued to this day. And so yeah, this was definitely one of my favorite songs on the album. We'll see if this becomes the number one later.
Yeah, we'll see.
Oh, yeah, I already said what my number one was, but yeah, this is an amazing song. If if any of you guys are if you're a Simon and Garfunkel hater and you're expecting one of us to dislike a single song off this album, you're in for a horrible video because we love basically all these tracks. I mean, if you want to see me and Jason criticize on Simon and Garfunkel a little, watch Bookends and you'll see us criticize them a tiny bit with the voices of old people, but there is no voices of old people on this album, so you're just gonna hear all good reviews. Sorry, Simon Garfunkel haters, if you are watching this.
Are there haters?
I mean, there's people who hate everything. Like people who hate Stevie Nicks, Buckingham, Fleetwood Mac. There's people who hate Rush. There's people who hate this. People who hate the Mamas and Papas. Just, people hate on everything. You know. I don't get how people can not like Simon Garfunkel, but you know.
Yeah.
Some people just like going on reviews or videos of the music and just to leave hate messages. I don't know. Thankfully, I haven't come across any of that yet, but eventually, probably. Next song on the album, "Baby Driver."
Baby Driver, also a movie name.
Yep.
I always think of that. Could have worked pretty well for that movie too. But yeah, this is another kind of hidden gem, kind of deep cut song on the album that I've never heard until I listened to the album. And yeah, it's a decent another upbeat song, I would say. That's a pretty good song. Maybe towards the bottom half of the album, but still, I don't have a lot to say. Just that. Still a song I enjoy quite a bit on the album. I can't say I remember a lot about the lyrics, just the whole Baby Driver part, the chorus and everything. But yeah, I don't have much more.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there has to be one song or two that has to be lower on the list. You know, you have to at some point.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah, it's a really good song, but yeah, comparatively, it's definitely near towards the bottom. But again, still a pretty good song. It's just a song about a boy who wants to go on an adventure and stuff like that. Pretty simple stuff. It's supposed to have like a Beach Boys type of vocal style to it. Not to say it sounds like a Beach Boys song, but that's what they were kind of going for. There's some nice horns on here. Definitely very nice. And yeah, it's a good upbeat song. And yeah, not much to say, but very nice.
It's interesting because at this time they were like away from all that like stuff that like the Beatles parodied them in Back of the USSR, and they then parodied here. And at this point, you know, the albums that each of the, like in '68 when the Beatles made that, they had Friends, and now in this year 70 they had Sunflower. So it's interesting to hear two bands like, you know, sort of parody or like, you know, get influence from a period that they no longer, you know, affiliate with. I mean, they would end up going back to it in the mid to late 70s, but you know, I love this song. This is definitely in my top 5. I love the upbeatness of it. It's just a crazy. It's just not crazy, but it's just like a fun, wonky song after the Boxer. Yeah, it's such a fun song. Next song on the album.
I think you mute yourself there before you say the title.
Oh, The Only Living Boy in New York. Sorry.
Yeah, I was waiting for the title. I was like,
it's like Queen, where it's like untitled, just like
the
next song.
Dramatic pause or something like that.
Yeah.
The Only Living Boy in New York. I mean, this is another one of my favorite on the album that I didn't know until I was listening to the album. It's not one that I remember hearing on the radio. And it almost feels like a Paul solo song, which is a couple on this album, I guess. It feels like definitely, of course, Paul, he's definitely the the driving force of the band in a sense, since he wrote pretty much all the songs and arranged them and everything. He's definitely. I mean, I don't know much about Art Garfunkel as a writer. I mean, but Simon was definitely like to me the genius in the band as far as that's concerned. Nothing against Garfunkel. He was a great singer and definitely was a collaboration. But yeah, it's a great song from Paul Simon. Great acoustic song, great, kind of slower paced song that I love that he does so well in the solo career. You'll hear a lot of stuff in it, it's definitely, one of my favorites, and he does such a good job on it.
Yeah. But yeah, don't have much else to add to it, but again, it's another song I really enjoy as well. This could also potentially be an honorable mention, but yeah, it's just a very pleasant song. Lyrically, it's just being alone in New York, hence the title. They got a bunch of people for like a lot of the backing vocalists, so definitely has a more bigger sound. So yeah, it's pretty good. I didn't have much to say, but still a very good song.
I love the reference that they have on in the beginning. It was like Tom, ba ba bum, ba ba bum, ba bum. It's supposed to be like a reference to when they were called Tom and Jerry. I love that reference. Definitely one of my. Yeah, I love that reference. Love it. This is an amazing song. It's another song that ends up on my top 5. Like you guys don't have to, but when we do our 5 favorite songs, I'm also going to include 3 honorable mentions instead of just one, because I feel like if I just have one honorable mention, I feel like it won't be justifying how great this album is. So I'm gonna have 3 honorable mentions because there are 3 songs that I really wanted in my top 5, but just didn't make it for some reason or another. But
yeah.
This is an amazing song. I love this song, but yeah, love it. Next song on the album, though, the reggae inspired, Why Don't You Write Me?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say except this is my least favorite song on the album. I think it's definitely the weakest, and almost wish it wasn't on the album. Didn't feel like it fits on with the rest of the songs to me. When I get to it, I'm always like, what is this song? Like, yeah, I don't have much to say. It just wasn't one of my favorites.
All right, we're 2 for 2 on this one. Yeah, I'm kind of the same. It's my least favorite as well compared to the other song. Try to go for like a more reggae influence. It's weird. How many bands are there which tried reggae? I know Led Zeppelin's tried reggae.
Yeah. Rush has done a little bit of that. I think
Rush has done a little bit.
Police.
The Police, like so many bands really tried reggae. I don't think so.
The Beatles, would you call it Obla Di Obla Da kind of?
Maybe.
I wouldn't
I don't know.
I wouldn't consider that to be reggae.
Okay, I can't think. Like, what would be reggae?
I know Queen didn't do one.
Queen, yeah, I don't think they did.
I mean, they've done like tropical sounding, but not like full blown reggae.
I know the Rolling Stones did a lot in their 70s career.
Oh yeah,
with the
that's true. Yeah,
Baby, Feel on Baby from Undercover. They did quite a bit of reggae songs. This was definitely like this was Paul Simon's most solo-y sounding song, because like this sounded like more of the stuff that he's gonna do on his solo stuff.
Yep, that's all I got.
Has anything to add, Bryer?
That sucks. I think this is one of my favorites. I love this song. I mean, yeah, I guess this is where the first time we actually disagree, where all 3 of us don't have the same opinion. I actually really love this song. I just, why don't you ride me? I love how, like, I don't know, it's just such a wonky song. I love it. It's just so goofy. You could consider it to be a jokey song. I don't, but I don't know. It's a fun song. It's not fun, but some dark lyrics like, I'm gonna drink a half bottle of ivory, I'm gonna hang myself on the highest tree. Very dark stuff. It's almost as dark. I mean, it's actually as dark as the lyrics that Simon was writing on their second album, Sounds of Silence, with Richard Corey and Most Peculiar Man. It's up there with those 2 songs, but Yeah, it's a good. This is a good, really good song. I love it.
Okay.
Next song on the album is a live cut. I think it is live. I'm not sure because sometimes they call it live, but then like it's just studio. It's a studio track.
It's a live track. It's a live track.
Okay, live track. Bye bye love.
Yeah, this is definitely a strange entry on the album to me. Of course, I don't remember any of their other albums having a live version on the album, which is always it's always strange when a band puts a live version of a song on an album. To me, a studio album.
I know the Rolling Stones did it with
Right.
the Out of Our Heads album with It's All Right or whatever. I know they did that too, which is weird. I agree.
Yeah, it's very interesting because every time I come to the song, I always think, "Oh, am I in the bonus section?" Because sometimes you listen to an album and they'll have like a bonus track, and the bonus track will be a they'll have some live versions of the song. It's pretty popular for like adding bonus tracks to an album. So I'm always like, "Oh no, this is an actual song on the album." Like, I guess they put on the album, and I would say like "Bye Bye Love" is a great Elderly Brothers song. It's like one of their greatest songs, and I definitely prefer the Everly Brothers version. Now, if the Simon Garfunkel did a studio version, I think it'd be like amazing. But just as a live version, I thought it was not as good as as Everly Brothers. And my biggest problem of the song, it's a really good song. My biggest problem is the hand claps from the crowd just distract me. I have a hard time hearing. I feel like I can't hear them singing because I hear the crowd clapping, and I'm like, stop clapping! I want to hear the song. But it's okay. It's just I wish it wasn't live. I guess would be my criticism of it.
Yeah, it's kind of a similar thing. Yeah, that's always been like a pet peeve. Like why include a live cut on a studio album? Just kind of feels a bit out of place. If I were to take my bias aside, it's a pretty fun live cuts. Like Jason says, it's an Everly Brothers song, and this was taken from a show in Iowa. It's pretty fun. I do kind of disagree. I think the hand claps actually kind of brings my attention back. Yeah. It kind of adds the energy. Okay. I hear it and I'm like, okay, I kind of end up clapping along too. And it kind of gives you a little glimpse on what they were like live. I mean, I'm playing some of it behind me, so kind of gives you a little hint of it. So what they were like.
I mean, obviously they're live. What is it called? Central Park.
Yeah, that's it.
Is like the most popular live, performance of all time. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, despite that, it's still kind of near the bottom. It's like near it, but again, it's not bad. It's not bad, but it's just like kind of would have liked it on an actual live album.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you guys. It's such a weird. Well, the story of why there's a live cut on this is Garfunkel wanted a song that they recorded on the album, and Simon didn't want that song on the album. He wanted a different song on the album, and Garfunkel was like, "No, I don't want this on the album." And they both were arguing on what should be on it, but then they end up just agreeing to having the live cut on the album. I'm just like, interesting, very, very interesting. But I'm gonna break the tie between you two with the hand clapping. I agree with Jason. Stop clapping. Let me hear them sing. It's so distracting. I'm just like if I wanted to hear hand clapping with a I listen to there's a song by the Animals called Clapping. If I just wanted to hear clapping, I'd just listen to Clapping by the Animals.
I feel like it'd be a ripoff if it didn't have clapping in it. If the song's called Clapping.
True.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. If I say to myself, I'm like, if I wanted to hear people clapping, I'd just listen to Clapping by the Animals. But yeah, it's good. I used to really like the song. I still do, but it's just a weird addition to this album. I wouldn't say it's as weird of an addition as Voices of Old People off of Bookends, but even then, at least I'll give that. At least I'll give that it's part of a concept. I'm not gonna say it's a good addition, but it's definitely worth it's definitely worth justifying a tiny bit, but this is just them throwing a live song just for the sake of throwing a live song. But yeah, that's my opinion on it. It's one of Simon Garfunkel's tracks on a Simon and Garfunkel album. It's one of the songs of all time. Last song on the album, the Song of the Asking, or Song for the Asking.
Yeah, Song for the Asking. It felt really short. Like I felt like I was listening to it. Next thing I knew, it was over. I'm like, oh, the song's over, and it was a fine song. Like it's definitely not one of the most memorable songs off the album. Off of, like I said, there's so many great hit songs on this album. I still thought it was a fine song. I just thought it should have been maybe a little bit longer. I would almost say. I don't know if that's just me. Don't have a lot more to add to it. I would say I wish like they would have ended the album on like The Only Living Boy in New York or Baby Driver would have been a better ending. I don't know than this song, but that's just a little criticism.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to it. It's just guitars and strings. It's very simple. And what's interesting is that Paul is just Paul on vocals. Like I don't think Art's even on this track.
Yeah.
So kind of shows where they were at the time. Yeah. So yes, I thought it was a kind of a pretty way to go out. Again, it's not crazy or anything. Maybe that was the point. Maybe to kind of just a nice, pleasant way to kind of close it off. It's kind of more. I mean, if I were to, in terms of the whole ranking of the songs, it's kind of more somewhere either bordering in the middle or close to the bottom. But it's still a nice way to close it off, I think. But yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's all right. I've never been the biggest fan of it. I see it on a couple of Greatest Hits albums, and I'm like, I don't get why it's on a Greatest Hits album. Like,
really,
I see that on more Greatest Hits albums than I see Keep the Customer Satisfied and The Only Living Boy in New York. And I'm like, yeah. I love those two songs way better than Song for the Asking, but I don't know. It's just It's just weird. But yeah, it's all right. I mean, compared to the other songs, I mean, I'm starting. Now that I'm really thinking about it, I'm taking it back. I'm probably gonna say this is the weakest song on the album, and then Frank Lloyd Wright and Bye Bye Love would be tied for second least. But yeah, it's a good way to end off the album. But I actually agree with Jason. I think it would have been a lot better to end off on Only Living Boy in New York. Top 5 songs, 5 honorable or 3 honorable mentions if you wish, and a album rating. Who wants to go first?
All right, I'll go, I guess. Number 5, I have Keep the Customer Satisfied. Like I said, just a great hidden gem song on this album. Number 4, I've got The Only Living Boy in New York. Number 3, I have the title song, Bridge Over Troubled Waters. Great song, number 3 on my list. It's such a good top 5. 2, I have Cecilia. I just love that song. And then number 1, it has to be The Boxer. It's one of my favorite all-time Simon Garfunkel songs. Just brilliant. As far as like honorable mentions, it's funny. I'd mention everything except for the last 3 songs, or the only 3 that I would say are the weakest on the album. But Baby Driver, So Long, Frank Lloyd Wright, and El Condor Pasa are all really good songs that could make it in the top 5, but just outside of it. Do you want me to do a ranking now, or do you want to?
I guess we could do the top 5 first.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so number 5 for me, I'm going to agree with Jason. I also have Keep This Customer Satisfied. Number 4, I have El Condor Pasta, if I could. Number 3, I have Cecilia. Number 2, if you were asked me about a year ago, this would have been number 1. Number 2, but of course things have changed since then. But number 2 is going to be Bridge Over Troubled Water. And number 1, and I'm going to agree with Jason yet again, with The Boxer.
I had a feeling.
Yes. And then
Sorry. Yeah.
So, and then I'll also name 3 honorable mentions. I'll go with Baby Driver, The Only Living Boy in New York, and So Long, Frank Lloyd Wright.
Okay, similar to what I got.
Yeah.
Yes, sadly, there isn't going to be a trifecta on the best song on the album.
I know.
So,
No.
I really want it to be my favorite, but man, my number 5 is going to be "Why Don't You Write Me?" I know, crazy, right? Number 4, "Baby Driver." Number 3, "The Only Living Boy in New York." Number 2, Cecilia, and my all-time favorite Simon and Garfunkel song, "Keep the Customer Satisfied." And as for my 3 honorable mentions, it's going to be the 3 biggest hits off the album. Well, besides Cecilia, "Bridge Over Troubled Water," "El Condor Pasa," "If I Could," and "The Boxer." Those 3 songs.
Right. Boxer and Bridge Over Troubled Waters.
I really wanted it to be my top 5, but oh man, if I could have if I had an 8-way tie for the best song on the album, all 8 of these songs would be tied for being just fantastic songs. So, and like I said, my least favorite song for the asking, and then like the 2-way tie for the least best would be Frank Lloyd Wright and Bye Bye Love. But yeah, album rating. Jason,
when I was going through this album, I thought, I'm gonna say "Why Don't You Write Me" is my least favorite song, and I was like, that's gonna be Nick's number 1. That happened last time I did Rush, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I hope that doesn't happen again, but.
Don't worry. Don't worry. Yeah. Even if it is, we're all entitled to an opinion. I'm not. Some people.
Right.
I've had some disagreements in a comment section recently, and some people were questioning my intelligence. And I'm like, I would never do that to people. Like when Jason said "Vital Signs" was like a very forgettable song. I'm like, oh, you don't. I guess your brain doesn't comprehend how good this song is. Some people could be very harsh.
Right.
I'm not that kind of person. I like we all like to joke, and I know Bryer one time was like when I put "Who's Next at 8," like he's just like I forgot, he just like felt like pretend to fall down. And I'm like,
no, that was Bryer's CD showcase back then. That was not.
Oh yeah. It was a different man back then.
As a different person.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, as Nick I think said, I give it a 10 out of 10. It's one of my. I mean, I know 10s you're supposed to save them for for a few of your like favorites maybe, and I tend to be like, I don't want to give every album a 10 out of 10 necessarily, but I definitely if it's good enough, I'll give it a 10. Like I don't have a problem giving albums 10s. And Simon Garfunkel is one of my favorite groups, and this is their best album. This is one of my favorite albums. This is a top 10 album all time for me, to be honest. Once I get to that in my list, I still have 15 albums to go on my 100 favorite albums list, and just to say this is in my top 10 favorite albums of all time. And it kind of just goes because like when I go through when we've been going through discography, like Parsley Sage I think was like a 9.5. Sound of Silence was like a 9. I mean, I'm giving really high numbers for these albums. They're just my kind of albums, I guess. They just really it's my favorite kind of music, I guess. The folk rock era of 60s is like some of my favorite stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, and there's no problem with that. I mean, and Mr. Tambourine Man and Turn Turn are your 2 favorite Birds albums, and those are kind of like vein of Simon & Garfunkel, and like I could totally see that. Both amazing albums.
Right. Those are like the 2 folk rock albums of the Birds. Birds like went away from folk rock, and I was like, no, I need more folk rock. But yeah, it's just with and like I said, like the 9, 10, 11 are definitely like the weakest songs for me on the album, but 1 through 8 is so good that it overpowers the last 3, and I'm willing to give it a 10 just because of how good. And I mean, like I said, The Boxer, Bridge Over Troubled Water, Cecilia, some of the greatest songs of all time, in my opinion. They're definitely songs I listen to over and over again. And because of the power of that, it has to be a perfect 10.
Yeah, can't argue with that. Sadly, I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10, purely because of the last 3 tracks, and also it has that sin of including a live cut in a studio album. But still, it's still going to get a very high score from me.
Okay.
like I said, like the first 8 songs, just absolutely great, absolutely incredible. So with all that said, I'm gonna give this a 9.75 out of 10.
Ah,
So
that's sweet.
just shy of it, but again, if they would have gotten rid of the live cut, then yeah, it would definitely get into out of 10.
Yeah, not well. I mean, to be fair, to make Jason a little happier, that's higher than basically every Birds album we reviewed. So that should prove you how great that album is. Yeah, I'm very, very generous with my album scores. So yeah, but I probably, in terms of album ratings, well, I say I'm the most generous, and Garrett's probably the most stubborn.
Garrett's the most strict for sure, I think.
He's
right?
definitely yeah, it's like there's like a ton of Rush albums that he describes as 10s, but then he doesn't give them as 10s. So like I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10, but it's so weird. The Rush album is just like a 10 out of 10, and then like they stop making music. It's like if the Beatles, I know the first 10 out of 10 for you was Help. It's like if the Beatles stopped at Help and they stopped making music after
right.
like, oh, yeah, finally made a 10 out of 10. And it's like, okay, we're done. kind of like, but ironically, it's also their 5th album, Help.
Yeah,
pretty funny.
That's true.
Ironically,
and they're just getting really good.
Just good vibes there.
Rubber Soul Revolver comes right next, and Sgt. Pepper's like, come on.
Yeah, it's like
actually, I'm just looking back, and I believe Bridge Over Trouble's playing right now.
Yeah. Wow, that's fun. Yeah, I give it a 10 out of 10. I will say, even though there are 3 songs I could care not as much as the other 8, it's still an amazing album, and the strengths outweigh the very, very, very tiny weaknesses on the album.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you got anything you guys like to add or say before the video ends.
Yeah, so from what I read a Paul Simon biography once a couple of years ago, and it's interesting that they started fighting and not getting along coming up to this album, and I think they broke up pretty quickly after this album even. And I know like one of the tensions was Paul Simon wrote Bridge Over Troubled Waters. He wrote that song, but Garfunkle sings it, so everybody kind of contributes a song to Garfunkle, and Simon hated that. That was like one of the reasons why I think he broke up with our Garfunkle, because they would go, all right, here's Bridge Over Troubled Waters, and our Garfunkle would be out in the front, and there'd be the piano player, and Garfunkel would sing the song, and then Garfunkel would thank the piano player, and that was it. And Simon was in the back going, I wrote the freaking song. you didn't even thank me for the song, and it's a bit of a, maybe it's petty jealousy, but I think Simon thought that, he didn't need Garfunkel, and he would be better off on his own because, he wouldn't have to deal with Garfunkel, and he can make his own decisions. I think, and Bryer even said, like, they probably fought over, like, what songs would make the album maybe, or what songs they wanted, so I'm sure there's some infighting of, like, what songs to include, and Simon was just like, forget that, I'll just do my own stuff, I can write the songs and sing them and play the instruments, and he wasn't wrong. He had a great solo career, I think. I mean, Garfunkel, to me, kind of disappeared. I know he had some songs or some albums.
And he did movies.
And he made some movies, but I can't say I've ever seen a movie with him in it, and I've never heard his albums before. Anyways, they did appear on Saturday Night Live. Paul Simon was the second guest on Saturday Night Live in 1975. So that's 5 years after this album. And I don't know that they did much together, but Garfunkel was on that, and they played like 6 songs on that. It was crazy. Like, this was before they really knew what to do with Saturday Night Live, and Paul Simon was the guest. So usually you only play like 2 songs, but he played like 6 songs, like, and a couple of them with Garfunkel, which was really awesome. Like, they still sounded great together. It's just sad that they, had this falling out, and they kind of, they'd come together every once in a while, but for some reason they always fought, and they could never just fully come together. Anyways, but that's just a little history, I guess, to add to it.
I'm just happy to be here.
Oh yeah, it's good history.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's it's nice. Like I said, I really wished Garrett would have been in this video. Would have been awesome, but if I would have kept waiting for we wouldn't have we wouldn't have been making this video in a while. And I was telling this to Bryer, like I really want to start our Kink series. We still have one more Kink. They're one of my all-time favorite bands. I'm excited to hear your opinions on it, Jason, because I know you've been really getting into the British Invasion stuff. I know you really like from Genesis to Revelation. That's like a very British sounding album too.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for your opinions on them. But yeah, that's going off on a different tangent. Thank you guys for watching this video. Next week, like right after, me and Bryer are going to be reviewing the Papas and the Mamas. I just made the link. I sent it to him. We're going to, it's going to be like basically right away. And I mean,
cut me out.
I mean, if you know the album, Jason, I wouldn't mind having
I don't. So
yeah.
I mean, if you guys are available, we could listen to the album with Jason and then have his thoughts on it.
No, that's okay. Do that.
Okay. Yeah. If we were doing the first album review, like next video, I know all three of us are familiar with that one, but we already reviewed that one 3 episodes back.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for watching this video. Thanks for having you on, Jason. Thanks for having you on, Bryer. This was a very fun discography to go through. I'm very excited to go through the overview, like what we thought they were really good at, like strengths, weaknesses, top 10, and a discography ranking. So until then, see you guys in the next video.